Hey guys, this is the Saigamiproject, and my name is Andrea Veros, aka Sunny. I'm the creator of the manga series Saigami, published and serialized in Saturday AM, the bi-weekly digital manga anthology, and in this video I'm going to show you how to do focus lines, so effects like this, and as well the effect that is called the beta flash effect. I'm going to show you how to do them both traditionally and digitally. As you can see in front of me, I already have two panels. These are both from my manga series Saigami. This is from volume 2, this is from the third volume that I'm working on currently. But I figured, since the main focus of this video is the effects themselves, I'm not gonna spend time to draw something for just the sake of the video again. The paper I'm using is the Deleteer manga paper. This is A4 size, so it's a smaller size paper. And I'm going to show you first the tools that you can use to do these effects. First of all, you will need rulers. You can use a ruler like this. I'm not sure if you can see, but it's very important that either you have to use a ruler that has a part that won't touch the paper, or if your ruler is just a simple thing like this, you can attach coins to the bottom of your ruler. But it is always very important that the ruler can't touch the paper, because if you're working with ink, or even if you're not working with nib pens, you can still smudge the ink on the paper, and that's something you want to avoid. So these are the rulers. You can use either fine liners like touch markers, unipin markers, micron pens. It doesn't really matter what kind of markers. You can even use something like closer to Sharpie. It doesn't really matter what kind of type, or you can use the G pen with traditional ink. I have this Kohinoor ink, it's a black ink. You can also use the thinner pen, the Maru pen. It doesn't really matter. Work with whichever you are most comfortable with, and of course with what you have access to. I prefer to do the effects with the G pen because it grants me a lot of freedom with line weights, and it will look a bit more authentic. But at the same time, in many cases, I just stick with the fine liners because they are faster to use. It's less likely that you will mess up. And of course, even if you mess up, there are always ways to correct it, so be sure to have some whiteout. And it is also very good to have a tissue with you, especially if you're working with the ink and the nib pen. Oh, and I almost forgot the most important part, thumbtack. Yep, this is crucial. So you will have a thumbtack and you will have a piece of tape over it. What I have here is masking tape with cat hair on it, because that's what happens when you have a cat. And you will attach this on the paper, and this will be basically your focus point, or the vanishing point, if you're familiar with that like that. So I'm just gonna jump in. I'm gonna attach this thumbtack here, for example, because I want the focus to be on Sean's face because he's charging with a big attack. So I figured the focus lines could go there. So that's what I'm gonna use for my focus points. I could also use it to focus on his face if I want to enhance that, yeah, he's pissed off. So the focus line could go that way. But I guess I'm just gonna focus on the face. That's actually what I did in the volume as well, because like I said, this panel is actually from the second book of Saigami. So as you can see, I already did this part with the focus lines. This was also done traditionally couple months ago. Might have been also a year. Oh, I can't really remember. But yeah, I'm just gonna basically do the same. Of course, I'm not gonna copy because I won't try to do the lines the same way I did here. But anyway, I'm just gonna show you how to do the focus lines here. So first, I'm gonna show you how the focus line looks with fine liner, and then I'm gonna use the G pen and the Maru pen as well for a few lines so you can see the difference. So the trick is that since you have this focus point of yours, you're gonna use that to support your ruler. Basically what you will do is have your ruler touch the needle of the thumbtack, and you're just gonna rotate your ruler, and like this all of the lines will head towards that direction. So without further ado, I'm just gonna have my pen, and with the focus lines you need to do the lines in a way that at the very beginning you are pressing down your pen a bit more, and you do a fast movement and you're gonna let up. Like, I'm gonna show it here outside of the panel. So at first you press down your pen and then you do a quick movement, and like that you can see that it will have this sort of needle-like shape. This will also show you a bit of speed. It will be more like needles showing up. Oh, I'm having some autofocus issues. I'm sorry about that. I still have to figure out this camera setup. But anyway, this is how you do it. And I'm gonna go in here. You can do the lines in a more frequent base. You can have shorter lines. You can have longer lines. It is completely up to your preference. There's no a certain way to do it. You just do it how you like it. Of course, be careful not to go over your lines in here. Of course, in black areas it won't really matter, and even if you go over your lines you can use a whiteout later on, or you can just edit the pages digitally. So these are the focus lines if you do them with a fine liner. Of course, that was a 0.3 fine liner. You can use something thicker like a 0.8 that will have a bit stronger lines. Yeah, that's how you do it. And now I'm gonna jump to the G pen. Okay, so first of all, you don't need too much ink. Like, just dip your nib until that hole, and be sure to check that your nib doesn't have too much ink or an ink blob underneath, because that can ruin your page very, very easily. I'm gonna turn the page because it's more comfortable to turn the page than twisting your wrist. So I'm gonna do basically the same, like press down first a bit harder and then with a quick movement let it up. Of course, it doesn't always work out at first because the G pen can be tricky and my ink is a little bit old. There we go. So as you can see, it takes a few tries, but the lines are thicker on the first place where I touch the paper, and then it will be less and less thinner, making up that kind of needle shape. Okay, and now let's do it on the page. First slowly, then letting up. As you can see, the lines are way, way bolder than with the fine liners, but at the same time there's a higher risk of messing up. If your pen runs out of ink, you can see that the end of the line won't look as nice, so you will have to go over the lines. And once again, if you're not careful with ink, you can drop on the page, you can smudge it. Of course, it is also very important to know that since I started here, I can head in this direction, but I really shouldn't go in that direction, because then even if I have the coins underneath my ruler, I can smudge the ink with the coins. So it's a bit of a case of planning and being patient with it. But of course, in the meantime, you can draw the other parts, like you can draw this part or that part. So that's what I'm gonna do. Go so far. I'm gonna leave it a bit of time to dry, and then I'm gonna show you how it looks like with the Maru pen. Okay, so next up we have this Maru pen. It's a very, very thin pen, and this again. I need some ink, not too much. Of course, the Maru pen always runs out quicker than the G pen, so there's the two. In this case, and since the Maru pen is a very, very fine nib, you won't have that big of a line variety. as you can see. But if you are combining the Maru pen and the G pen, you can have a cool, or at least a bit more dynamic and interesting looking effect, that you have bolder lines, you have thinner lines, so you can mix up your focus lines like that. So yeah, those are the Maru pen lines, those are the G pen lines, and those are the fine liners. Of course, if you're using a very thin fine liner like 0.1 or an 0.05, you can have a similar effect that what you have with the Maru pen. So you can always experiment with that. So that's basically how you can do the focus lines. I'm gonna finish this part up in time-lapse, and then we're gonna jump to the beta flash. While I'm doing things in time-lapse, I would like to let you know that you can read my manga series at Saturday AM only. You can read the first few chapters online for free, and you can also get the first 2 volumes of the series both in print or in ebook format. So there we have our focus lines. And as you can see around the corner, I went outside of the panel. That's something you can absolutely do, and it will make your focus lines look a bit better, because if you start the lines at the very edge of the panel, it might look kinda unfinished. So if you have the space for it, you can always just go out of the panel. You can use Vita to correct it later on, and the same goes for the speech bubbles. Like, these are pretty easy to correct. It will also make it a bit less stressful to know that you can make corrections later on. You know, you have these creative freedoms, and you can work in a way that is more comfortable for you. Alrighty, so next up we're gonna be moving on to the beta flash. I'm gonna remove my thumbtack from here. Also be always very careful with that, because you don't want the tape to damage your drawing or your page. That's why it is good to use a masking tape or something that's easily removable. Of course, in my case, this is just a printed image, so there's not much I can lose here. But as you can see, it damaged the page a little bit, so I have to make a bit of correction there, but of course I can do that easily later on. So even if you damage your page, it's important not to panic, because you can always make corrections, like as if nothing happened. And the same goes for the whiteout. When I'm done with that, I'm probably gonna do the whiteout so you can see that you can always make corrections. Okay, so with the beta flash, since there are different types of it, I like to plan ahead a bit in advance. Like, you can do a beta flash that goes all around the character. You can do a thing that's a smaller area, like just a flash of a thought or hearing something that's more shocking. It's always depending on what kind of effect you want to use the beta flash for. In this case, I think I'm gonna go with something that's more of a smaller type of beta flash. So I'm gonna use a bit of an undersketch here. See if that's what I want to do, or if I want to go with something bigger. But I think I'm going to go with a smaller one. So that being said, I think my vanishing point will be somewhere in between her eyes, focusing on the expression and on the eyes, because, you know, the eyes are very important and very expressive. So I'm gonna place my thumbtack here. Basically, the gist of the beta flash is very same as the focus lines, but you will place these lines right next to each other, so you won't have any gap in between the lines. So just as with the focus lines, you can use fine liners. I'm going to rotate the page once again. So once again, you have your focus line there, your ruler, and I'm going to use my undersketch here, so the starting line, the starting point of the lines will be this sketch line. So if I want to do it like that, that will be my starting point, and later on I will fill out the rest with black. And I will do a focus line like that, and I'm just gonna move my ruler a tiny bit, and I'm gonna do the next line right next to my previous line, and so on and so on. This takes a lot of time. Of course, once again, you can play with the length of the lines, the boldness of the lines. Oops. The paper is running away. You can use a thicker fine liner if you want. So that's with the fine liners, and I'm gonna jump to the G pen and the Maru pen as well. It is kind of tricky to do this with the G pen, or at least I find it that I'm more likely to mess up my lines with the beta flash than with normal focus lines, probably because the lines are so close to each other, and it's, I don't know, it's just easier to smear them or make accidents. But at the same time, in the case of the beta flash, I think the difference between the G pen or the Maru pen compared to the fine liners is showing more. So I really like to do the beta flash with the G pen because it just feels different. Also, especially when you're working on the beta flash, it is important to wipe your ruler often because, as you can see, the ink started to build up on the edge of the ruler, and that can lead to accidents. So be sure to have a tissue and wipe your pen, wipe your ruler. Just be patient and be careful. So that's with the G pen. As you can see, there's quite a difference there. It feels more flashy if you're doing it with the G pen than if you're doing it with the fine liners. I think it feels a bit more faded with the fine liners. But of course, at the same time, if you are working a bit more on your lines with the fine liners, you can get a similar effect to the nib pens, even with the fine liners. So nothing's lost, even if you don't have any nib pens. And now with the Maru pen. With the Maru pen, it takes forever because the lines are so thin that if you want to fill up everything, you will really have to work a lot. At the same time, with the Maru pen, you can get way sharper lines. So there's the benefit in that. But also, since the paper is getting a lot of ink here and the Maru pen is very sharp, it is easier to damage your paper with the Maru pen in this case. So it's important to wipe your pen to make sure there are no paper pieces on your pen, and no rushing, giving time to dry. And even if you have to go over a place with your ink, like if you can see here, that line didn't turn out the way I wanted, so I will have to go over that, but I will have to make sure that I'm not abusing the paper. Also, the latest issue of our magazine is already out. It's Saturday AM issue 93, which also includes chapter from Saigami, among with many other cool series, including one of our newest series. And it's super exciting because we are getting closer and closer to our 100th issue with every magazine we release. Okay, so now since I printed out the panel that already has the screen tone and everything, it's obviously a bit trickier to do the corrections with the whiteout. So what you can do is go over the lines here with your speed lines and correct it digitally, or you can do a trick, which is basically masking areas that you don't want ink to get over. So I'm gonna show you that a bit as well. So I have a piece of masking tape here, and I'm gonna put it right here. And it's a good thing that it is a very thin masking tape, so I can see through it. And I'm gonna take my X-Acto knife and I'm gonna remove the parts outside of the drawing. Of course, you won't have to press too hard, because that way you can cut your own drawing, but hard enough to make sure that you will be able to remove. And of course, once again, remove it very, very, very carefully. And there we go. And now the artwork part is all covered up. So now I can take my pen and feel free to go over the lines, because the masking tape will get all the ink and none will get on my artwork. You will be able to find all links to Saturday AM in the video description below, including advertisements. So if you're an artist, musician, cosplayer, you name it, and you would like to reach a wider audience, then you can now buy advertisements in Saturday AM starting as low as $10, and these are permanent advertisements, so it's worth checking out. And there's our flash. Now that the ink has dried, we're going to be removing the masking tape and the thumbtack. This again very, very carefully. But yeah, normally it doesn't damage the paper that much. There's a bit of glue left on the paper, you can just rub it off. Alrighty. So now that we have the line, we can erase the undersketch. Of course, only in parts where it's necessary, because we're going to fill up the rest with black, so it won't really show. So what you will have to do now is just go around the corners to make sure there are no white spots left. Of course, you can use a thinner pen if you want. You can always make corrections. Since this video is already long as it is, I'm gonna focus on the digital part in my next video. I hope you find this video useful, and if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to write anything in the comment section below. Also, you will be able to download this template. You can find a link to that in the video descriptions, along with many other useful links like how to get Saturday AM, Saigami volumes, and my other social media and everything else. So here we have both of our effects basically finished, although the whiting is still drying, but you know, that's just a matter of waiting. As you can see, these effects aren't really hard to draw, they just take practice and a lot of patience. But once you get the hang of it, they are pretty easy and super fun to work at, or at least I really enjoy doing speed lines and flash lines traditionally. Once again, thanks for everyone who supported me by subscribing, getting any of my books, getting Saturday AM, you name it. And like I said, you can find all of my links in the video description. And next time I will be back with the Focus Lines digital version. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I see you soon.